I do want some ribs again.
All right, so rib on to the relationship letter. That was good, man.
The LSTT relationship letter. This week we have, Dear LSTT, I listened to your show last week, and my heart goes out to the young man whose wife who has been raped. You guys gave him some very important things that he can marinate on. I'm writing to you to add on to that wonderful advice that you had given him. I am a product of a rape. My mother was raped in college, and she chose to keep me. At first, it was hard for her to make that decision, but as we bonded, I in her wound and her strong faith in God turned things around. Fortunately and unfortunately, I came to know who my father was when I was much older. He did jail time, and I really wanted to hate him for what he did to my mother, but I can't hate him for playing a part of bringing me into this world, even though it was a horrific way. I have a very nice stepfather and 3 beautiful sisters, which I am, as well as my parents, are very protective of. My point is, I am a very well-rounded woman. I am a prosecuting lawyer, a mother, and a wife. One would never know what God has for them unless they are given a chance. P.S. I specialize in sexual abuse. Sincerely, give me a chance, G-Mac. That is coming from a lady in response from last week's conversation, the letter that was written by a husband whose wife was raped, and she was pregnant, and he wanted her to abort the baby. So this young lady is saying, by the grace of God, her mother, who was raped, didn't abort her. So I hope, last week I forgot that person's name. I hope he's listening, because this was just on point that someone listened to that and understood that.
Let's see if Tracy was listening, because she's.
Of course, I'm listening.
We never know, Tracy. You're a superstar. You just do whatever you want to, since your voice is just so recognized.
I know.
No one knows who Tracy Brown Howard is anymore. So Tracy Brown Howard, the superstar that you are, what do you have to say about that?
And it's a little weird because for some reason I just assumed it was a man when I first heard you start reading. I mean, I think that's awesome that, first of all, that she came forward to encourage the person from last week to say, hey, look, take a second look at this situation because your baby could be me. Mm-hmm. A very productive and welcome person in society, loving and was able to be loved by not only her mother and sister and stepfather. So I applaud that person for stepping forward and giving that advice. And if the person has not already made that decision, I think that is something that could help them to think that the decision that she was swaying to of wanting to keep the baby might help her and her husband both to know that it's all right and things could be way better than we think they could be.
All right. Mrs. Jerry Mack, what you got to say?
I think the letter is good for encouragement, but I guess when I think about the couple that is going through that situation, I guess I'll look at the long-term effect too. It's all great, how she how the encourager was a victim of the assault as well. I mean, the parents were, but at the same time, I guess when I think about this couple, I think it's a lot of healing that's got to come with that. I mean, not just the fact that his wife was raped, but then you have a husband that has to deal with those, those feelings of if she were to keep the baby. And I think it's so much more with that. So I think I would take the advice of the prosecutor and get some counseling or something like that. But I think that's a doozy. Seriously. It really is. It really is. That's just a lot of something to deal with.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure if you were listening, Brenda. You might want to mention the fact that it could be either her husband or the rapist's baby.
Right.
Oh, okay.
So, because he had to wait, what did he say, 8 or 9?
They had to wait so many
weeks before you could determine who's the actual parent.
You do listen.
And if it's not his, he wants the baby to be aborted. But she doesn't want that. Mm-hmm. So, and when I think about him from last week, it made me think about that. Unfortunately, some men don't like the fact that knowing that someone else entered into my wife, that he probably won't even be around long. Because I was doing some research, and he said 9 times out of 10, unfortunately, the male that wife has been raped and she decided to keep that child, that person can't handle it.
He can't deal with it.
Right,
he
they
wouldn't
leave.
be able to deal with it. Exactly.
Okay,
And
so y'all didn't just took over the show.
Oh, well, you know, this is like a woman.
We're gonna let
Go ahead, Cortez.
I'm gonna let my brother speak.
Okay.
You know. Go ahead.
Me and Jerry talk about that later.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get her the details.
Yeah.
Thank you, Trace.
You're so welcome.
Well, this pretty much is on the line of what we're dealing with, the healing thing. But ultimately, this is where both the husband and the wife really needs each other. And they need each other in all areas, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And this is where they, see, this is where the vows come at, for better, for worse.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? We don't know how the enemy would come to put us in our better or worse. And this is how we get tested to around our vows, who we are to each other, how much we mean. And, it's an unfortunate situation, and God puts us in these situations to test us. Now, everything ain't the devil. So, unfortunately, the prior act, wasn't right. But there's a great blessing that will come out of this story. And ultimately, listening to it, I literally just going to say, to God be the glory, because this is the testimonies we need to hear of how God mends wounds. You see what I'm saying? Reestablish families, trust within each other. This is what real healing is about. And all this little whack stuff we dealing with, this is, see, I don't have that story, so I can't talk about that. But when I hear these type of stories, these are the type of stories that I could share, but even though I didn't deal with it, but this shows me that God is able. Okay, somebody take the mic, because
I will say this. One of the things I want to say to the person, the name is Give Me a Chance. Thank you very much for listening and responding back last week. I was definitely one of the persons that said, to give the child a chance, because that child could have been me.
That's right.
And when you think about that, it was a horrific thing that happened. But I also want to commend you, because not only did you say that you met your father, so you took out and made the decision to meet someone, even though you knew you was a product of rape, and then you was honest to say that I wanted to hate him, but I couldn't, because he still was a part of bringing me into this world. So you've dealt with things that most people don't deal with in a lifetime. You've dealt with the problems of being a part of a rape. And a lot of times when children are a product of rape, they feel devalued. So it's great that you're seeing yourself as a value, and that you're trying to live a productive life. For the counseling, if you do need some counseling, yes, definitely get the counseling. But let me just say kudos to you for what you have done already. You've shown that you are a great example of what can happen. A horrific thing can be a holy and a beautiful and a wonderful thing in the sight of God. And I continue to hope that you will be a blessing to many more people. Baby, what you got to say?
On that, I love the fact that GMAC encourages, tried to encourage the young man from last week. The only difference is her mother was raped in college. She wasn't married, so she wasn't accountable to her husband, the husband to her. That's the only big difference, because rape is rape. But in the situation of the husband last week, I cannot imagine, being raped or having my husband go through the fact of the mental thing, like Cortez was saying earlier. You guys trying to figure us out, and you don't know what's wrong with us. Now just think she's raped and she's going through all of this. So I'm still praying for you, mister, from last week. I'm sorry I forgot your name, but we are praying for you. And we thank GMAC for giving you some encouragement to really think about it, because that's God's child. And she's on loan, or he's on loan for you to help raise.
Amen. So thank you very much for writing in. The Let's Stay Together relationship letters is always a blessing to us, that you're listening and that you want to share your story. For our final segment, we're going to go to something.